Good morning everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. So for today we are going to introduce A-level biology. So if you're new to this YouTube channel, kindly like, subscribe and share for more. Let's make A-level biology a walk in the park. So now today we are looking at the introduction to biology, where we will cover the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes. So now when we look at biology, we need to define what it is about. Firstly, when we look at the word bio means life, logy means study. So therefore, biology is defined as the study of life. So under biology, we'll be looking at the components of life. For example, as you can see, this is the DNA, this is the leaf, and among other, the cells. So biology has to do with living organisms. This is why we are looking at the microscope to be able to see such things such as the DNA. So apart from that, we are now going to be looking at the categories of life. So what are the categories of life? So life is grouped into two categories, which are named as prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So under these categories of life, we have what we call prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So prokaryotes, we are looking at the simple organisms such as bacteria and archaea. So these are mostly single-celled. When we look at archaea, these are able to survive very intense environments. We are going to look at them later in details. So now the other category of life is what we call eukarya. This one is the most diverse, having many organisms. Though the diversity for prokaryotes, they are numerous, but these ones, the size and the complexity is more on eukaryotes. So under eukaryotes, we have organisms such as fungi, we have plants, we have animals such as cats, cows, humans. We also have protists. Protists have got of behaving sometimes like plants, sometimes like animals. This is why they are called mixotrophs. The examples of protists, we have euglena. So we have said that prokaryotes are unicellular, most of them having a single cell. The example that we have given are bacteria and archaea. When we look at eukaryotes are sometimes single-celled but mostly multicellular. Examples of single-celled archaea, we are talking about, let's say, the protists such as amoeba. So amoeba is a single-celled eukaryote. So if we put our eukaryotes and prokaryotes side by side, you can see the complexity. For example, when you see the eukaryote has got a lot of different number of structures. If you look here, we have the vacuole, we have the mitochondria, we have the nucleus having other structures, we have the smooth and the rough endoplasmic reticulum, we also have the lysosome here, and among others. So now when we look at the structures, you can even be able to spot differences, which we will be able to write on the table. So the first difference between the eukaryotes and the prokaryotes is that the eukaryote has got a nucleus while the prokaryote does not. So in the nucleus, this is where the DNA is found. Therefore, in the prokaryotes, the DNA is just suspended in the cytoplasm. If you see this nucleoid, this is the DNA part of the prokaryote. However, in the eukaryotes, we have the DNA bound in a membrane. This is why when we look at eukaryotes have got membrane-bound organelles. So organelles, we are simply looking at these, the vacuole, the nucleus, the mitochondrion, the chloroplast, and all that. So now the other difference is the ribosomes. The ribosomes found in eukaryotes are called AETs. You should know this for the sake of the exam. So the ribosomes found in the eukaryotes are the AETs, while the ribosomes found in the prokaryotes are the 70s. So the differences between these two ribosomes is the size. So if you look here, we have the AETs, which is found in the eukaryotes. we have the 70S, which is found in the prokaryotes. So what are the differences? So the difference is, number one, the size. The other difference is that we know the ribosomes are important in protein synthesis, or rather making of proteins. So the 80S, due to their size, they are able to create more proteins as compared to the 70S. So the 70S is found in prokaryotes. They are also found in semi-autonomous organelles such as the mitochondria and the chloroplast. Okay, so going back to our diagram, the other difference between the two is that so prokaryotes mostly undergo asexual reproduction, while eukaryotes undergo both sexual and asexual reproduction. So the examples of eukaryotes that can undergo asexual reproduction is fungi and plants. So these can also undergo sexual reproduction. So we also have amoeba. Amoeba is able to undergo asexual reproduction. So to summarize, the differences that we have talked about are that prokaryotes have got DNA suspended in the cytoplasm. The eukaryotes have got DNA in the nucleus. Then the prokaryotes has got the 70S ribosomes, while the eukaryotes have got the 80, not the 70, 80S ribosomes. 80S ribosomes, which are both responsible for making proteins. However, so the ribosomes in eukaryotes make more proteins. Then we also have the prokaryotes are mostly they are single-celled, while eukaryotes are mostly multicellular. When we look at the eukaryotes, they have no membrane-bound organelles, meaning to say their organelles do not have a second membrane. Then when we look at eukaryotes, they have membrane-bound organelles. The examples that we can have are mitochondria, chloroplast, the nucleus. All these have got membrane-bound organelles. The other thing is that the prokaryotes mostly reproduce asexually, while the eukaryotes undergo both asexual and sexual reproduction. So, however, there are similarities which we can simplify to say both of them have got DNA. They have got DNA, they have got ribosomes, they also reproduce, they also respire. So they also respire. So they also reproduce, they also respire. They both have got the cytoplasm, which is the site of the reaction. Now let's get a clear difference from the similarity which we have talked about to say they both respire, meaning to say they break down sugars to produce energy. So both of them, quite right, they respire. However, in eukaryotes, respiration occurs in the mitochondria, whilst in prokaryotes, respiration just occurs within the cytoplasm, since they do not have mitochondria. So that is that about the introduction of biology. Thank you very much for watching my video. Hope you would like, subscribe, and share for more. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up so that my video can reach a broader audience.